So the first kind of big thing is it's more to do with your itemization, right? Because it's like we're one trick and a champion, which is good, and we've just hit silver, right? This is new.
Uh, no. So I've been silver for a while.
Okay,
I peaked silver one last
okay,
season.
okay. Right. So yeah, there's a lot of big errors with itemization. So obviously, I want to see the thought process behind it. So some of the things that I'm going to ask you, like obviously I have the answer to, and I am going to give it to you. And
Yeah, yeah.
there's no wrong answers basically, but I just
Mhm.
want to see. So how come you're building these items? So what about the frozen heart? How come you were building that? So this is the one we're going to
So
review, right?
okay, so the frozen heart was simply because I expected them all to build AD,
Okay.
um, and I thought of the passive with the frozen heart, and the fact that frozen heart gives 60 armor was, and the fact that they were all basically AD was. I
Okay.
thought was going to be a priority, and I thought this is going to help me survive fights, whilst also giving them the reduced attack speed as well.
Okay. Okay. So I mean, there's some things that are correct in what you said. Obviously,
Hmm.
Frozen Heart is a very strong item. It is very good. Now, some of the kind of things with this though is the purpose behind them, right? So, for example, here,
Hmm.
the attack speed slow doesn't really affect many of their champions all that much.
Right. Okay.
So sure, it does give you a lot of armor, but it doesn't really reduce them too much. Another really big thing is you really want Frozen Heart into low range ADCs. Doesn't have to be too low range, but things
Okay.
like Jin and Jinx, things like that, are classed as long range ADCs because their kit allows them to impact the fight from outside of a normal attack range. So
Right.
usually, attack ranges are between 500 to 650,
Hmm.
which obviously benefits Frozen Heart because Frozen Heart is a 700 radius. So it means that any
Right.
champion that is within that 700 radius will get impacted by it. The
Right.
problem is here, the Jin is not really going to be inside that 700 radius because he's got his W, his Q, he's got his ultimate, which he uses to open
Yeah.
the fights with. So it means that you're never really going to apply it on him. You will apply
Okay.
it on the Z, sure, when he goes in, but Z doesn't
Hmm.
really care about attack speed. He just wants to get in, use all those abilities at once, and then jump out, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it doesn't really do all that much there. Now, another big thing to that is, don't get me wrong, Frozen Heart is great and it's very
Hmm.
cheap, but you do really want to go with mythics first. Now,
Yeah.
there is some situations, like in this game, like if we were to talk niche kind of builds, then we could
Hmm.
have maybe gone a, I don't know, like an anathema's chains into an even shroud, stuff like that. But one of the things when you're in these elos, it doesn't really matter as much about what you build within reason. It's more about how you use it. So you do kind of want to stick to the same kind of build throughout. Try not to vary it too much because it's not really gonna impact you all that much. It's good to know other options, but you also have to make sure to use them properly. So in
Hmm.
this one, going the Frozen Heart first, we've just invested most of our gold into that. Now, one of the things that you have to take into consideration when it does come to um, support as well is you're on a very limited budget. So we
Yeah.
only really have a total of, I mean, 1,000 gold from our quest is our main budget, right? So we want to
Yeah.
basically try and put this gold and then assist gold and kill gold if we get it, whatever. We want to try and put that into the best early items that we possibly can in order to make use out of it. Now, if we look
Yeah.
at this game, we
Hmm.
have a double assassin, we have an
Yeah.
Udyr that's going to be running people down, and we have a Jin that's going to be doing a lot of damage from afar. So having
Hmm.
something like a locket to be able to give shields to everybody and allow them to survive that little bit longer is really, really valuable. Especially if, say, for example, this Eve runs in and, she's about to die, we could potentially locket her, which would allow her to survive a little bit longer in order to use
Right.
her ultimate. So
Yeah.
it might not seem like Locket is this huge shield that's, going to give a 2,000 HP, effective HP, but it's still going to give enough to make a lot of benefit. So
Yeah.
I'd say definitely stick to getting your Mythic first. The only real options that you really want to choose between on Nautilus are either Locket of the Iron Solari or an Even Shroud. I would
Yeah.
recommend going with Locket though, just because it does get you into the habit of also using an active item, which
Mhm.
is going to help a lot, especially as a support player, where
Yeah.
if you do ever go to an enchanter or anything like that, you will have
Yeah.
a lot of active items.
Mhm.
You can even go with things like redemption and stuff on Nautilus, which can be good in some situations. But yeah, so the next big item is what about our thorn mail? What's our thought process behind the thorn mail?
It's specifically into that game.
Okay,
Um, it's specifically into that game. There, we were up against a Tarek, and we were also up against a Silas.
okay,
Um, with obviously Tarek obviously doing a lot of healing,
okay.
especially with the Silas as well. I genuinely thought that having because we were behind anyway.
Mhm.
I believe we were anyway. I thought it was just going to be the best thing. Essentially, it was going to be the best thing to do because they were going in, and if we can mitigate some of the healing that they're doing
Okay.
to help them stay longer in fights, then I thought board mail was going to be the best thing to do,
Okay.
just to give us some kind of an edge.
Okay. So obviously the first thing with this is again just kind of prioritizing over mythic, which again you don't
Mm-hmm.
really want to do. Mythics the game become kind of easier for itemization over the years because mythics are generally the kind of best things to rush on pretty much every
Right.
champ.
Okay.
Especially if you don't know the niches behind certain champions, then
Mm-hmm.
mythics are usually the best thing to go. Obviously, you do have champs like Twitch or Yasuo and stuff where you can go like Borg first, things like that. But
Mm-hmm.
overall, you do kind of want to just stick to mythics. The other big thing is the problem with Thornmail is you lose about 600 gold when you buy it. So
Okay.
on support, that's obviously like 60% of your gold quest. So you end up in another situation there where unless the healing is going to completely change the fight entirely, you wouldn't really
Mm-hmm.
build it at all on a support
Right.
because there's kind of much better items in order to stop that. I mean, even here, even something like a Frozen Heart would have actually been better in this game because obviously you've got Kaiser, Diana, and Renekton that are auto attack users. Um, but overall, again, Mythic first, and then Thornmail, you just never really want to buy it. If you want anti healing on a support, Bramble Vest is not as bad
Mm-hmm.
um, because it will still apply when they hit you, but it doesn't give the reduction on immobilizations. But
Mm-hmm.
as Nautilus, when you kind of jump on somebody anyway, you tend the playstyle tends to be that you use everything on a influential carry, and then you just
Yeah.
blow them up with your CC, and then they die. So by doing that as well, you're not really going to be applying your CC on your healing reduction on many people at all throughout fights, unless they grief it with like if somebody runs off with your ult through the entire team, then maybe. But overall, you never really want to go first, and you never really want to go out on support, because it just eats away at too much of your gold income, and you just can't really do
Okay.
anything. In this game, obviously, the force of nature, they do have a lot of magic damage, don't get me wrong. Like MF does a fair amount, especially with Comet and E. You've got Cassio that is going to do a lot as well, and a
Mm-hmm.
Brand. But it's kind of another one of them items that is very expensive
Yeah.
for you to get on support. So
Mm-hmm.
it does cost a lot. Yeah, Everfrost is one that you just never really want. Like I don't know what happened here. Um,
Um, Honestly, I was just simply
yeah.
memeing with
Okay.
Everfrost.
Okay. Again, we've got here the same kind of situation. Frostfire Gauntlet, 2,800 gold, and you don't really use it that much because,
Yeah.
you have so much single target CC that you're not really going
Mm-hmm.
to make use of it.
Right.
And you don't really spam abilities either, so you don't get much use. And the build path is really, really awkward for a champion like Nautilus. I'm not really going to look too much into like these Zac games because it's not really your kind of main champ.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we got a bit of Thornmail, but we did get a Locket, which is good.
Yeah.
Duh, duh, duh.
You'll notice that in most of my Nautilus games, I will build Locket. It was just like those odd few games,
Okay.
the one where I was memeing, and then
hmm
the two with the Frozen Heart and
Okay.
Thorn Mail. So yeah.
That's fine. Like, it's more of just finding out why and kind of seeing what we can do. So, right, so another big issue, which don't get me wrong, I've just coached a master tier support and given the exact same advice. These control words, it's way too much.
Really?
Way too much.
Okay.
So these are 75 gold each.
Yes.
Which means right here, you've spent 900 gold?
Okay.
On just control wards. Which that's your entire support budget.
Yeah,
on
true.
Just control wards. So when you buy control wards, you have to have an intent behind what you're going to use it for. You've got to decide, okay, I need to ward the dragon, so I'm going to get a control ward to ward the dragon, but I'm just going to get the one. The issue that we're probably going to come into, that we'll probably see with your gameplay, is that you'll probably buy 2 on base quite often. That's kind of the only real way you get up to kind of double-digit numbers. But let's have a look at your actual gameplay.
Okay, so just before, I think have you got the volume muted on it? I guess.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Because my duo is actually your new colleague.
Yeah, Lizzie, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a feeling. So yeah, it's okay though. Like the mouse mat though, jeez. Is that the league champs? It is, isn't it?
It is, and their skins.
Okay. We're already abusing the boot camp tactics.
Yeah.
Okay. The only thing when you're doing this, especially when you're duo, is make sure that, like, it was great that you did this, but make sure Lizzie also knows what to do.
I did tell. So I told her that I was gonna do it, and then she just came up and then just started hitting them.
Yeah. Because what happens now is they are gonna focus that one out, but it's not gonna slow push back into you. So what's going to happen now is you can get a push, but one of the reasons why you do this and why it's so good is because this Eve is sat top, which means if you let this slow push back in now to like here, then it means that once Eve has done a full sequence of her camps, she can come around here behind them and actually get a kill quite easily.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see what happens. Okay. That melee minion kind of griefed, but... Oh, also, we went sweeper first. How can we went sweeper
So
first?
I put the ward, that was my wards there in the middle bush.
Oh, okay. Okay, so... This, not too bad. So, one of the issues that we kind of have here now is because we pushed the wave in so hard, we can't really use our level 2. So we're about to get level 2 and we can't really do it. So do you know how many minions it is for level 2?
I don't actually.
Okay, so it's the first full wave and then all 3 melees of the second. So in total 9 minions. So what you want to do is, if you already know you're in a position where you're stronger, which you are playing Kaiser Nautilus, and to be honest, in Bronze/Silver, you end up in a position where you can force fights really hard, even if you're not meant to win them, because the matchups don't really hold as much weight because players don't really know what they're doing with their champions. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that the wave is never really pushed up this far when you hit 2. Make sure it's around this point, and then what you do is as soon as it's about to tick 2, you have 2 options. You can either, so say you have 3 melees here, you can either walk up like this, kill this off with your relic shield. Actually, let's say this one's dead. Kill that off with a relic shield, and as you auto, so you stand where you are now, as you auto it when it's about to die, throw your Q out, and then what ends up happening, you might have to try this in practice still a little bit, but your auto attack will always, the animation will always take priority. So what will end up happening is you auto this and you're looking at it, but then the hook will kind of fly out. And it'll be really hard to dodge.
Oh yeah.
So again, you basically auto and Q at the same time. Like getting the timing down will take a little bit of practice to it, but definitely try it out. And then you'll almost always, in this elo, you will always hit that first hook. Now another thing to take a note of as well is Nautilus hook is a very unique ability in the fact that it has two. Has
two hitboxes.
Yes, I think I mentioned this in the boot camp, but it has a big, thick one that goes down the middle, which will hit absolutely anything, and then it has two thin ones down the side, which they'll only hit champions. So,
right, yeah.
if, say, for example, you throw it like this, and these were the enemy minions, then this would potentially go through, but then it would catch them here. So you'll get this knock off as well. So this level 2 might seem like, oh, well, it's something like a level 2 play, right? But when you're playing something like Nautilus, which can snowball ridiculously heavy, like even something this simple, you could probably replicate this every single game and it'd allow you to win an extra 20% of your games. Like, because once you get that lead, it's quite easy on Nautilus to kind of hammer it home, if that's so it can be quite easy, because like I said, you get to level 2 now, you can't really do anything with it, and now even though you've had pressure on the wave, they like they're not going to get punished. So nice little bit of FK usage there. Eve didn't full sequence, which is very weird, but again, this is kind of bronze, so that's to be expected. Oh, silver, sorry. I don't know why I keep thinking bronze. I think it's because I'm sure Lizzie had already mentioned to me that she's bronze.
So she is bronze. Yeah. I'm silver. I've been trying. This season for me so far has been absolutely horrible.
Okay, so it's this thing. It's League is kind of difficult until you know what to do, which kind of sounds crazy, right? Because that can apply to absolutely anything. Like. Like baking a cake is hard until you know what to do. Like it can apply to anything, but it's applicable to League as well. It's kind of like once you start getting used to certain things that you can do, then it becomes much easier. So in this situation, obviously, it's good that we let the wave pull in. It's also good that we took that W there because it would have actually CC'd the Kai'Sa.
Yeah.
So here, what we want to be doing is we want to just be communicating that we want to build up a big slow push. So we only want to last hit these, because then we'll get a big slow push going into them, and then if we catch them, it's great. Now another big thing is make sure that you position a little bit different. So right here, for example, the fact that we're in this kind of back area of the lane means that this Jhin is under no pressure to walk up and kind of farm these away. So what we want to do instead is we want to kind of walk in this area, and we want to basically put pressure on him. So if he walks like this, then we just walk around like this. And then we get an auto, an EQ, like we can just get a lot on him. Like we're playing Nautilus Kai'Sa as well, which is very strong early. And we have got biscuits, which means... Now, I'm not massively opposed to biscuits. I know that's quite controversial, and some people would probably absolutely, like, rail my authenticity if they heard me saying that. But I think biscuits can be good as long as you're being really aggressive inside of the lane with them. So, like, for example, they give you that extra amount of HP and mana. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I think they're actually somewhat good on champions like Naut. Because the fact that they give you that mana back means that you can go really, really aggressive. And they also heal you for more HP the lower HP you are. So you can basically get full rotation, really poke someone out, and then use them when you're lower, and you'll get a lot more out, and then you can basically jump on them again. So they can be really, really good. So yeah, like the way that you're positioning, just kind of, it doesn't give any threat to this Jhin, and it doesn't tell him that he can't walk here and he can't play the lane, which as an immobile ADC, that's kind of what you want to force as a Nautilus. You want to make them fear walking up, because the wave is in a really good spot right now. Obviously, it would have been nicer if we kept it in that spot, but again, it doesn't really matter. Like even if you're duo, if you're not duo, it's going to be the same kind of scenario. Like players in certain elos will do things because they don't know any different, which, you know, it's completely fine. So here as well, see, like we've got quite a big wave and our cannon. So let's see what we do around this cannon. So one thing when you are last hitting those cannons is make sure that you wait until it's like as low as possible. Just because then it keeps damaging your wave. So what we want to be doing, so this is kind of another problem, right, is because we push the wave too hard, we can't pressure them for this cannon. So he's just gonna, or the Leona's gonna be able to farm it for free, really. Another thing with a situation like this as well, you don't really want to roam off until the wave is fully pushed in. Now, who is the enemy jungler in this game?
Fuck, what was it?
That's okay.
I can't even remember.
It was Hecarim. No, that was your
Yeah,
jungler.
no, remember that this is the defeat, isn't it? So
true.
it was
Nautilus.
the Nocturne.
Nocturne, yeah. Why do champions have the same first letters? Jeez.
Yeah, I know, right?
My old man brain gets confused. Jeez. Right, so here we kind of just want to be a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah.
So we're going to use the hook a little bit. Oh, we probably didn't need to use that. Okay, so we'll wait. So we are a little bit down on CS. But so the only reason why we're really down on CS is because we've just permanently pushed waves into them. So we've just kind of allowed this Jhin to get away with kind of doing whatever he wants instead of being able to kind of punish him and force him into awkward positions. Because one of the main things that you want to be doing, especially in these low elos, a lot of players go into the game with this idea in their head of exactly what they want to do. And it's usually a very linear idea. In the case of they're like, okay, I'm gonna just walk in, get a lot of kills, and then just win the game. And it kind of puts you in a position where if you then do something that they don't expect or they don't know about, like for example that level 2 trick that I was just saying, even something as simple as that will throw them off so much that they'll just lose their mind and they'll be like, oh, I have no idea what to do. So you want to kind of force them to make decisions, and one of the best ways that you can do that is force them to make a decision between damaging you or getting a minion. So obviously cannons are the easiest way to start that. If, say, for example, they walk up to get a cannon, jump on them, run at them, because then they'll either go for the cannon and you'll get a free trade. They'll try and trade damage back with you and miss a cannon, or they'll just kind of lose their mind and do nothing. They'll do neither. So another thing with this as well, what you want to do is don't stand too far back. So see, all this way back here, you just lost 2 minions worth of XP.
So the reason why we did that is specifically because Nocturne hadn't showed himself at all. So I presumed that he was relatively close to 6, and he had literally just popped the Scryer's bloom.
Okay.
So I was essentially worried that he was either close to or was level 6. And I basically made the call to Lizzie saying, look, the Nocturne's here, we need to be careful of it.
Okay. So has he got any kills? So not there. No. Okay. So he hasn't actually been involved in any kills. So he needs to wait for the second rotation of his red buff or his blue buff.
Right.
So hold on. So he's up there now. Usually it's around level 6. 6 minutes that ultimates will come out. So at this point of the game, it's a little bit too early for that ult to be coming out. So one of the things you can do is look at your Eve and be like, okay, she's level 4. So you're like, okay, it's not gonna have it. If he's got a few kills, then sure. But yeah, so he probably won't have 6 yet. But one of the things you want to do, it's okay to stand back, but what you want to do is, again, another thing in practice tool. Have you got Varus on your account?
Varus?
Yes.
Yeah, I have all champs.
So Varus on Italy, what you want to do is go in the game and kind of get the normal cast indicator and just kind of see how far that is, and then that'll tell you how close you need to be to the minions for XP. So you need to be within 1600 units.
Okay.
in order to get XP, and that's basically a fully charged Varus Q or a Nidalee Q. Nidalee Q I think is closer. So Varus Q is 1,595, so it's 5 off. That's one I learned with. I wonder what Nidalee Q is. Somebody brought that up before. Okay, so Nidalee Q is actually only 1,500.
Right.
So Varus Q is better. Varus Q is only 5 range different, which isn't that big. So do that, and then kind of get a mental image of how far that is. And then what you want to do is, so it would be, so the minions are up here. So it would be around about here. So what you want to do is, this is the thing. So you can stand here, which means you're still safe if the Nocturne does come. But what you want to do is keep your camera looking at the minions. As soon as one's about to die, just pop into the range, let it die, and then come back out. And then pop in, let it die, come back out. And just do that over and over. Make sure you turn XP on in your settings as well. It'll be in the interface at the very, very bottom. And that'll also, it'll pop up with the XP. It's not default, which is silly if you ask me, but it'll pop up plus however many XP.
Yeah.
Because XP is the most valuable kind of resource. Because most champions are between roughly 500 gold and like 652 per level up. So every time you level up, this is the range of the gold that you will get in stats. So like these are usually bruisers, because bruisers gain a lot more like resistances and stuff from leveling up. And these are usually carries, because again you do damage, so you don't ideally deserve as many resistances. So let's say, for example, right now they are probably about 50% of a level up on you, which means they're going to hit 5 and they're going to be this range above you in terms of stats. So if they jump on you right there, they've got around 2 kills worth of stats in advantage to you.
Got you.
So those levels are really, really impactful. So this wave came in. Cause see, so we've gone with biscuits, but we haven't really used any of those biscuits.
Yeah.
We've still got 3. And it's kind of just because through how, like, what we've been doing in the waves, we've just ended up becoming way too passive.
Yeah.
So again, kind of this bottom area down here doesn't really do as much. Again, just kind of get up in here so that you can at least pressure the Jhin away. Because Kai'Sa does a lot of damage early, especially if you're not within a wave. But we're about to hit 6 soon. So once we hit 6, what we can actually do on Kai'Sa is, with Kai'Sa should I say, is we can Nocturne ult at Nocturne. Why do I keep getting confused? We can Nautilus ult, and then, so say for example, we ult here, and then they walk back there. Obviously they have Leona, so this is a bit grief, but I mean in general. And then they walk back. Kai'Sa can in theory jump to here, then Q, and isolate them, and then you'd be here, and you would get the Q on them as well. So that isolated damage will do a massive amount. Like a huge amount. So
does Kai'Sa get isolated damage then?
Yes, so if Kai'Sa uses her Q, so it's not like Kha'Zix's isolation, but if Kai'Sa uses a Q inside a wave, it will spread on not only the enemy champions, but the minions as well. Whereas if she uses it when there's only, say, one target, like just the Jhin, in range, all of that damage will go to the Jhin instead.
Got you, yeah, of course.
So especially when she's evolved that Q, she ends up doing so much damage to a single target that's kind of why she's played. She's a she's kind of an assassin a little bit. She's got a little bit of an assassin playstyle.
Yeah.
Because her job is to jump in, get a big isolate Q off, and then ideally use her invisibility on her E to get away. So in this situation here, so AD is reset. So you just want to reset as well. Because what's going to happen here is, sure, this wave is going to sink, but like you're going to be in a position where the Kaiser is now going to come to lane and there's a window for them to kill her.
Yeah.
Plus, you may as well spend your gold too, because you're going to have to reset at a later point now, and you're going to end up with a solo reset. Whereas this wave is actually in a fairly good position right now. This Kaiser reset, even though I'm not sure if it was intentional, was actually really good, because this is only a normal wave that's crashing right now, whereas there's a cannon wave coming up. So if we reset when there's a cannon wave, we come back and it's going to be a slow push. So if we've spent all of our gold, we can actually play on that slow push and we can jump on them again to kill them.
Right, got you, okay.
Right now we haven't really spent everything, so we're not going to do quite as much damage as what we should be doing. So the slow push isn't as good as it could be, but the fact that they haven't reset here is atrocious. Okay. So, okay. So, I mean, she's covered now, but this is super late. So, right here, what do you think you could have done? So, kind of in this big moment, especially here.
I mean, Leona's facing away. I probably could have looked at trying to actually hook the Jhin here.
Okay, yeah. Well, what do you think's a really important part of this? We kind of just talked about it a second ago.
Fuck.
Well, it's okay, it's okay. What did the Kaiser just do?
The Kaiser just backed, and okay. So the Kaiser just backed. She's got more items than the Jhin. We could have probably easily taken that fight.
Yeah. So potentially, obviously, we didn't press tab to see. So get used to pressing tab a little bit more so that you can get kind of information about what's going on, because the Kaiser more than likely has enough items to just hard win this fight now.
Right. Okay.
So what you could have done is, of course, because you also have your ultimate, is you could have hooked him here into a full CC chain, which then Kaiser could have basically done a ton of too as well, and it gives us an opportunity to potentially get a kill.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I see. Yeah, I see that now.
It's okay. Because like this is pinked, like it's always going to be pinked because it's Eve. So Eve can never really get through. But we're about to get a... Oh, how, like what? What? She cleared that ward and they didn't see. Okay, so we still... Yeah, unfortunate. So the issue here is the fact that Leona is way tankier. So what else do you think you could have done in this situation?
I was debating whether to go with the flash hook.
Oh yeah, you should have. Like, be confident with stuff like that, because like Jhin is your main target, right? So if you flash, like you could flash auto him. So what you could do is you could like flash auto. Yeah. And then if he flashes away straight away, doesn't matter, you'll pass his minions, so you can Q him. And then after you've got the Q off, you can go into the ultimate as well. When the ultimate drops, if he's still not dead, you can get your E off as well, so he's slowed. Like, he 100% dies here. There's no way he wouldn't. So if it's going to give you a guaranteed advantage, then go for it. Like, don't be too afraid of using your flash. Like, your flash is a tool to be used however you need it in that situation. Now, say, for example, if you flash and it's a complete waste and it's terrible... then it's okay. As long as you don't die, you can play safe for 5 minutes with the knowledge that you don't have flash available. So don't worry too much about wasting the summoner. Focus more on how you play after you've wasted it, if that makes sense. Obviously, the goal is to never waste it, but...
Yeah, of course.
And then here, obviously, your locket would have been way, way, way better. Because this doesn't really provide you with all that much. What you can actually do here... and what would have actually been much better in this situation, just buy steel caps. So buying steel caps first on Nautilus is really, really good, because boots have ridiculous gold value. Like the gold value that they give is crazy big. So what you can do is just rush them. You're going to get movement speed, which Nautilus really likes, because obviously the more movement speed you have, the more you can kind of get out of the brush. Now, even though steel caps don't seem as crazy efficient as, say, like Greaves. Like Greaves are like, I think 106% gold efficient, but even though steel caps are only 85%, you only lose 160 gold because they're quite cheap. But the passive is ridiculously broken because 12% reduction from basic attacks, especially when you're into a Jin whose fourth attack does a ridiculous amount of damage, you end up in a really good position with them. Like they're very good as a rush. I'd say as long as you're into an AD lane, just rush them pretty much every game, in my opinion.
Okay. All right, fair.
They're very good. Because also they give you the ability to roam off as well, right?
Yeah, true.
Which is also very good. So, I mean, how has this mid fallen behind this hard?
Yeah, that is a good question. I wish I knew the answer.
Oh, it's crazy. How did they get the tower? I guess they heralded the tower, but
I think they possibly did, yeah.
I wasn't actually looking at, well, top as well, actually. Jeez. But it doesn't really matter. Especially in these elos, it doesn't really matter too much if people get ahead because, like, I know people often say that, like, low elo players don't know how to close the game out. But yeah, it's closing games out is something that is ridiculous. It's actually really difficult to do. So it's like, it's more than just, it's a hard concept to get hold of. Nocturne's actually over this wall. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I realized as soon as the Jin was walking up, I was like, "Fuck."
Yeah,
he's here.
So you actually saw him on your sweeper.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm.
So, see here.
Oh shit! Yes.
Yeah. So
I didn't even.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is actually Nocturne. So what you could have done is as soon as you see that, leave this pink, ignore it, just Q here and run.
Yeah. And you know what? I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. Don't get me wrong, because it's like an unconventional. But yeah, it depends per skin, right? I think is this a new skin?
This was his. I feel like this was his Iron Revenant skin.
Oh, I think it might be. Yeah, I just haven't seen a Nocturne in so many years. Like, I mean, there was a period where Nocturne mid was like broken, but since then, okay.
I was too busy looking at something else, and I got caught out by fucking. Yeah, I was tabbed here, and I didn't even notice the Z.
I mean,
like by the time I noticed the Z, it was way too late.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if we would have got a Q on him into ult, Kai'Sa maybe could have killed, but
that's why. As soon as he killed me, I was like, if I'd have fucking Q'd him, then that would have been.
So another one of the big things with the boots as well is one of the things on Nautilus that you want to do, and this used to be one of the rationales behind going Moby boots on Huck champions, is your main kind of play in the lane. Do you remember we spoke about that way that you could walk around the Jin earlier? So when you were like, Jin was here and we could walk around like this. So what you can actually do as well is you can use these brushes with boots to just run at them, because if they don't have vision in the brush, then they can't see when you're going to leave it. They can't even see if you're on the edge. So what you can do is the more movement speed you have, the closer to them you can get before they move. So those boots, the movement speed on them allow you to get more hooks, if anything, and do a lot more in general.
I heard that the Moby boots were essentially they weren't worth it.
Some games they are. Like, say for example you're playing Nautilus with Ezreal. Or like a virus or something that's like really long range and can just farm lane on its own. You can go Moby Boots, and let's say for example you've got a super aggressive top lane. Moby Boots can actually allow you to get to top lane for ganks as well, which can actually be really beneficial. So one of the big things in the game so far is that we haven't really moved from bot that much. We have been a little bit behind, and we kind of stayed a long time in bot lane with a lot of gold. But one of the reasons why you want to kind of get frequent backs off as well is so, like here for example, let's say here, this is already enough gold for you to get your steel caps. So at this point now, you want to be going, okay, this is the time where we do want to crash the wave. So at this point, you go, okay, I'm just going to hard crash this, get it pushed into their tower because the wave is so big and it's a cannon, and then just get a reset off and get your boots. And then what you do from there is after that, if we have a look at what point you would have got it crashed. So this was a normal wave, right? So you push it in here, okay, bum bum bum. So let's say we were resetting around this point, then we could go forward a little bit more, and then we could, as we leave base, we can actually roam. Now, if you're playing a support like Nautilus in solo queue, like I know it's definitely hard when you duo with somebody to leave the lane, but make sure that the wave isn't doomed before you go. So the main keys that you're looking for is you don't really want to roam when the wave is pushing in. So if the wave is like here, slow pushing into them, it needs to be crashed. But if you can crash the wave, then that always means that you're going to get a roam timer. So what you want to do is get that wave crashed in, reset, and then as the wave is coming back, so pulling back, that's when you would say roam through here. You could even, if you've got Mobies, you can roam up here. Like you can even go through here and just kind of get a ward down, maybe a pink in here because people don't check it as much. This pink spot is okay, but obviously this one people won't check it, and it gives you access from all of these ways, which is really nice. And then you're in a much better position then because you can impact mid really easily. And if, say, for example, top is really snowballing and stuff like that, or you can influence that lane, then the Mobies can allow you to get top ahead or stop them falling behind, stuff like that. So if the wave is pulling back, you get the opportunity to do whatever you want, really. And roaming is super important in solo queue.
Yeah.
Because,
I mean, that's part of the issue that I have is that, and I obviously don't want to put the blame on anybody here, but whenever I have attempted to roam in the past, my ADC has fucking cried at me. Like, what are you like? The problem is that some ADCs think that you are their support instead of the team support.
Oh yeah,
and I've had to tell ADCs that previously. It's like, I'm not your support.
Yeah, you're not pet. You're not an ADC's pet. You're a support. So yeah, don't worry about stuff like that. It doesn't really matter. Like, the thing you also have to realize as well is, are you playing like every single player in this elo range doesn't understand how the game works. Like, otherwise they wouldn't be here. So it's like,
of course.
Yeah, so it's like you had to decide, okay, am I going to listen to these players that don't actually know how to climb, or am I going to take actionable steps to actually climb out these elos? And as soon as you realize that and actually start doing it, the game becomes way easier, because it's like, sure, you might try something, it might go wrong, you might really screw someone over, but it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, like, if they're good enough to climb, they will. Like, like, you can get through these elos with like 95% win rate if you're good enough to climb. Obviously, there will be like some games that like you'll make one mistake, and even if you're super ahead, you'll still lose it. But the majority of games, if you're good enough, you'll win. And to be fair, you don't even have to be that good. Like, a platinum level player would get through bronze with a like 95% win rate, I think.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons why I didn't even think about roaming this game was simply because just the way that the game was. Like, as soon as I saw mid being like super pushed in and top having an absolute fit, I think mentally I just assumed that this game was done. Because like if you pause it here, like, you can see like top is like 7-0, mid is like 7-2, and it's just like I said to Lizzie after this game, is like, there's nothing that we could have potentially done here that would have made us win this game.
I don't know. I still think, like, I think a lot of the things that we already kind of discussed would have won the game. Like, the issue here is that because we messed up the early laning phase so hard, we didn't actually get ahead enough to carry. We could have
Okay.
100, like this is 100% a game that you guys could have carried for sure. But the issue was because you were both kind of forcing waves into them and not kind of pressuring them and not really going for opportunities to punish them for the things that they were doing, we didn't really get any kills. Now, if we would have got multiple kills, then we could have potentially been in a position to carry, especially as Kaiser Nautilus, because you have enough CC to peel basically everybody off this Kaiser, which is really big. And Kaiser has self I guess it's not peel, but self-defense in things like her invisibility on her E, stuff like that. So this is a game you could have 100% won. Even at this point, this is still winnable for sure. Like, in bronze and silver, like, these games happen all the time. Like, even in, like, platinum, these games happen. Like, diamond, these games happen. Like, so, and they can still be won quite easily. So we'll have a look. We have like a Kaiser Jacks for late game, to be fair. But we'll keep going to see what we could have done from this point. But yeah, like I do get it. Like a lot of the time, it does feel very much like some games you just feel like you cannot have won. But it usually those feelings that I can't have won this usually come from just not knowing quite what to do, and that's kind of League in a nutshell. Like even kind of like here, for example, see, like we do go for it eventually, but it was super delayed. So like right here, see, if we would have gone earlier, so he's do you see the angle there? So look at the wave positions. So this Jin's positioning is really bad. Obviously he's silver, but like look here.
I could have easily hooked it.
This is a very easy hook. And then if we hook him here and the Leona tries to peel him, we've got hook, we've got ult, we have auto, we have ignite. There's no way the Kaiser wouldn't have killed him here, which would have been really, really big, right? So the main thing in these situations is just realize kind of the opportunities that you have and actually punish them. So I think one of the main issues that I obviously I want to say you've had individually, but I mean I know you're duo here, so both of you have had in conjunction as well, is that you haven't really punished anything. Obviously no disrespect, but like the situation you end up in then is the lane is all down to support in the early game. Like if you play support correct, you'll end up in a position where it's very hard for the ADCs to not win the game. It's like this, even in I think last week's skill cap video, there was a situation where my ADC was sat all the way back here, farming a wave, while I was like here. I knew we could kill them, so I was just doing it on my own and just waiting until the ADC came. And then eventually the ADC realized that we could kill them and then came and got the kill. So it's like, as a support, you have a lot of agency to do things in the lane and carry fairly easily on your own. And your ADC just has to, like, if you're solo, then obviously it's a bit harder because you have to wait for your ADC to notice. But if you're duo, then you can go, okay, this is killable, come. And, then you can get a huge advantage. So there were definitely a lot of things that could have been done. And like I said, I know it's easy to fall into that kind of mindset of there was nothing to be done. But you always kind of want to see you want to try and find mistakes no matter what, right? And it's like even if those mistakes wouldn't have won the game, it's still good to kind of get rid of them or kind of learn from them. So Eve here, oh god, see, okay, okay, yeah, she played that a little bit bad, but it's fine. So unfortunately, we didn't have a Kaiser ultimate there. So yeah, that was unfortunate timing.
Yeah.
Eve was trying to go for that too. So yeah, with that one, like one of the biggest tips I'm giving to avoid situations like this is just before you're about to throw your hook, always kind of look down at the minimap, just see what's happening as you throw it. And then you end up in a position where you can be like, okay, I can see the Zeds there, so then you can save the hook. Yeah, he's very fed. But Steel Cats would have actually helped a lot against it because Zed does a lot of damage in his autos, especially on you because he can't 100-0 you. If it's something like Kaiser, he could, but with you, he can't. So Steel Cats actually do a lot against him too. Eve is probably playing that a little smart, to be honest. Like, obviously, everybody was very ahead. Okay. Okay, the Jacks too. Okay, nice. Awesome. Okay, so that's 1,000 gold to the Jacks.
Yeah.
Oh, shame we didn't hit that because he was killable, I think. Oh, Annie is griefing, but see, so even things like that, that was 100% a kill if that hook landed, right? So it's like, even though that seems like, okay, it doesn't really matter that much, right? Like, it's just one missed hook. Like, this Udyr is worth 1,000 gold. So that one missed hook was basically 3 kills lost. So the fact that Jax has already got 1k, that would have been a second. That's 2,000 gold towards his next item. That's nearly a legendary item in itself, just from bounties. Oh, sorry, he died already. My bad. It still would have been a kill, but unfortunately he died at some point. I don't know when. So yeah, so once you start building boots more, like, you'll see the value of them.
Okay.
Because like right now we're coming up to 20 minutes and we still don't have boots, so it becomes quite hard for us to actually get on top of them and really do anything. So here, so unfortunately we have used our support quest already. Okay, this is nice. Okay. See, this was good. We punished him for doing silly things, and we ended up getting a lot of it. Ooh, so this would have been one of those queue moments, right? So one thing that you can do as well is in your settings, everything on quick cast is great, but set it so that if you hold shift and press Q, it will pull up the normal cast, because then you'll be able to easily see the Q indicator. Because right here, if we would have thrown the Q like this, then it would have actually hooked him anyway.
Right.
So it's called lollipopping, and it's when you basically manage to hook somebody from behind a minion wave. Now you can do it on things like Thresh and that too by using a hitbox, but it's not designed to do that. Whereas on Nautilus it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it's just Zed doing Zed things.
Yeah. And Jax was doing Jax things this game as well.
Yeah, just a little bit.
He sat in that alcove for what feels like a good 2 minutes.
The alcove gamer.
Yeah.
Oh, and he goes on Leona. Okay. This is some cognitive gameplay right here.
Yeah, it was. And then he dies to the Zed, I think.
Classic.
And then the Annie didn't want to fucking surrender.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, surrendering in bronze usually isn't too great. Purely because even at this point, to be honest, they could still throw it. Because it is bronze. Yeah. And the thing is now, with the way the bounty system works, it's like if they throw too hard, then they will actually lose. Because bounties are worth so much. And especially when you've got things like a Jax.
CC immune is fucking shit.
Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah, it makes that champion very, very strong now. I didn't
even know it was a thing until that moment. I was just like, oh, really?
Yeah, so basically the way his kit now works is he can change his stance with each ability, but if he's in, say, his Q stance and he presses Q again, he'll get a enhanced version.
Oh, fucking hell, okay.
His Q basically does like a lightning strike, which does a lot of single target damage. His W gives him a ridiculous amount of healing in a fight. It's not too good, to be honest, but not compared to his others. His E makes him CC immune.
Right.
And his ultimate, see that big ring around him right now?
Mm-hmm.
That basically detaches that from him and it chases after you.
Oh, for God's sake.
That's the big one, because it slows you and it does a ton of damage. And
So he basically became Victor.
a little bit, yeah. Like a little bit, to be honest. Like, he's very strong. It's kind of like Victor with Volibear's passive and...
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, Ornn's CC immune. So obviously it did cut off there. So,
Yeah.
like I said, I think the main things are to actually start being way more aggressive in your early laning phase. I think, to be honest, it's very difficult to drop from silver into bronze, but you don't really want to care about that too much anyway, because the thing that you need to focus on mainly right now is actually being way more proactive in your early laning phase and actually making sure that you're kind of going for fights and going for kills and trying to abuse enemy ADCs, punishing their positioning. So, like, just constantly look out and be like, okay, like, why are they walking there? Go for a trade. If that trade goes bad, then you go, okay, why did it go bad? Well, maybe I got caught by a full brand combo. Okay, so then I need to go on the brands so that, I don't take a full brand combo. So then you look for the brand to miss position and then go on them, stuff like that, right? So, I think one of the issues that you're having right now, and the big one that stands out to me, is it's kind of like I don't want to say you were coasting through your wins, but you've been playing way too defensive through your wins, and then what ends up happening there is, if you win or lose, becomes way too dependent on if your team know how to win the game. Whereas you don't really want that, especially in solo queue. You want to be the one that's carrying the games. You want to kind of be getting ahead in bot lane, and then once you get ahead in bot lane, you want to go and get mid lane ahead as well, and then potentially go and get top lane ahead, and then come and make sure bot lane's still not ahead. Like, so you want to be consistently going throughout the map, and roaming is obviously a big one of those factors. But I think that early laning phase, the first 10 minutes especially, is the big one. Back timers is going to be really big for you. So making sure that you are resetting around things like your power spikes, like your items. Like, you get 1100 gold, you reset, you get your boots. You get enough gold for your locket, you go back and you get your locket, stuff like that. I think for now, stop varying as much in your items until second item. So second item, play about with things. So, like, some of the logic that you had around items wasn't necessarily bad. It was just at the wrong point. So if you say, obviously Thornmill is bad, but that's something that still wouldn't really punish you until like a way higher elo. So get that mythic first. Get your boots first, should I say? Then get your mythic. And then from there, then go, okay, now what do I need for the game? So as a support, that second item slot is where you decide what item can I get that can influence the game, and go from there. So as long as you do that with your itemization, honestly, you won't really struggle that much. Then again, back timer so that you can get items at certain points, and then making sure that you're punishing lane more, making sure that you're forcing them into positions that are awkward and uncomfortable for them, and then just all around making sure that you're not really allowing them to get away with murder, pretty much. I think I don't want to overload you with too many things. I know we've covered a lot of things within this hour, but I think just focus on those things, because I think those are the main things right now that are really holding you back. So focus on them for now, and then we can obviously cover other things at a later date. And so I'll stop the recording now.